Hello you guys, and welcome back to Full Plate of Pasta. I am really excited about this episode because it almost didn't happen. This specific episode actually kind of came as inspiration from something that occurred in my life just a couple weeks ago, in conjunction with the fact that at the beginning of the year, I rewatched 13 Reasons Why, which, has anyone watched that show? I have now watched it back through 3 times because I first of all just love all the puzzle pieces of that show, but something that really stood out to me when I rewatched it was when Hannah is going through season 1. I'm not gonna give away too many spoilers, don't worry you guys. Also super sad show, just be careful watching it. It's very triggering for me. But one of the things that I really resonated with is when Hannah's going through and recalling all these experiences that led her to making a really horrible decision to end her life. She's walking through this one event that happened, or I guess multiple events that happened on the same night. She's talking about this party she went to, and there was, 2 or 3 incidents that led to that night. And what I was thinking about just a couple days ago is how I went to a retreat just a couple weeks ago, and there's 4 or 5 major things that have now happened in my life because of that retreat. So there's a couple of them that are very, very personal to me that I'm still processing, that I'm probably going to share with you guys in the upcoming weeks. But I actually wanted to talk about that event and the actual weekend that I was there in this episode, because I left this weekend feeling very calm, and also I was more manic and crazy than ever before. So I want to give you guys a little bit of context. I want to talk about this weekend and some of the lessons that I learned, and then some of the things that I think are just going to change your perspective about your life or your business or what success really is. But I went on a weekend retreat because I hired a business coach about 1.5 years ago. I've had several of them in a lot of different contexts, but I hired a business coach, and I have been working with her for quite some time. I won't give a lot of context this weekend because I also want to keep, everyone else's personal stories from this weekend, their journeys, their stories, and they can share them at their own pace or in their own way. But I basically was going to visit her for a weekend VIP day, and there was a couple other girls who happened to have VIP day weekends that weekend as well, or around that weekend. So it worked out that we actually all got to meet up and get to connect with each other that weekend. That was not part of the arrangement. Originally, it was going to just be me and my own coach. And it ended up being several of us kind of there, different coaches and business owners and agency owners and different people at all kind of different stages of business there for the same weekend. Well, when I originally found that out, part of me was a little bit anxious because I, again, don't know about all of you guys, but for me, when I'm in mentorship zone or in my zone of development, it's very intimidating sometimes to have other people around you who you feel are more successful than you, in the weeds of that. And the women that were going to be coming on this weekend were 4 years, both of them, 4 years ahead of me in business. Not necessarily from a revenue standpoint, there wasn't a huge difference, but from the actual business standpoint, they're just in different phases. They have full teams. And here I was, I hired a team at the beginning of the year feeling oh my gosh, I'm going to build out this huge, massive consulting firm. And 4 months in, I was I fucking hate having a team. And I actually really just want it to be me and one other person. And we're going to scale to $5 billion that way. And we're going to fucking make it work. So I had a lot of imposter syndrome on that front. I was just nervous about the weekend. Sometimes I feel very confident in my business. I just done a huge relaunch and I was still feeling a couple gaps. So I went into this weekend really overwhelmed from a strategy standpoint. But the other thing that I want to say, and I wish that more business owners fucking said this, I also didn't want to talk a lot about business strategy because I think at the time, especially just going into that weekend, realizing now I was 1.5 years in, we've done over $1 million. We had scaled and tripled our revenue from last year. I also just wanted to be encouraged. And I think that as business owners, we need to be more honest with ourselves. When we hire mentors, when we're in coaching spaces, when we're, in kind of those environments, yes, sometimes we need strategy, but most of you guys don't actually need more fucking information. Most of you guys don't need that new TikTok strategy. Most of you guys don't need to, be talking about your offer suite every 3 fucking seconds. Most of you guys don't actually need a lot of the business strategy that you think you need. You just need to get out of your own fucking head. And I'm far enough in business now, I'm smart enough in business now to realize that very often when I'm questioning my business, is it about the actual shit in the business? It's usually about myself. And I think that I headed into this weekend saying, I think I need to like release some stress and release some overwhelm and just figure my shit out. So we headed into this weekend and we got kind of a treat where there again was several other business owners there for the entire weekend. Some that I had met before, some that I had not met before. And we actually got to do a couple things together that really changed our perspective around like ourselves and our business and our vision. And so one of the things that we ended up doing is on Saturday of the weekend. So all of us kind of came in at different times because one of us had a VIP day on Friday, one of us had a VIP day on Saturday, and one of us had a VIP day on that Monday. And so I'll backtrack a little bit. I actually came in on Thursday and I had the opportunity to speak with two different business owners on Thursday that again were like years and years ahead of me. One was like 12 years ahead of me and one was like 5 years ahead of me, like very, very ahead of me. And I remember when we were sitting there prior to anyone else really coming, the rest of the group was coming later in the week or in the weekend. When I was sitting there, I was basically being asked questions about my business and I kind of wanted to cry because both of them are like incredible business owners. They have immense vision. They're very intelligent in the way that they approach their business. They're making multiple millions of dollars a year. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't really know what I want right now. I just want things to feel a little bit easier and I want to feel a little bit more breathing room and I want to just like have more fun in the business. And so when I went into this weekend, one of the questions that I was asked by my business coach was like, what is your business vision right now? And the day that I had to write that down, I literally sent her a recording where I'm crying and saying, I don't know my business vision. And a lot of my clients always ask me like, when you're struggling in your business, like what do you do to reach out to your coach? Like what does that actually look like? Well, guys, here it was. Literally just 3 weeks ago from the date that you're listening to this podcast, I sent in a document to my business coach, writing out my offer suite, writing around my marketing plan. And at the bottom, it says, I have no business vision. That's literally what I said to my business coach. And I think a lot of people think that that's like a negative thing, but I actually think that's really powerful to just be like, I don't actually know where I'm going right now. I'm just kind of moving. I'm just kind of figuring it out. And I'm so glad I said that because that's actually where we started with the weekend is I'm sitting down with these two amazing coaches. Again, one I had met before, one I had not. And they're asking me a lot of questions about my business because the one did not know a lot about my business and we're talking about things. And they're like, so what's your business vision? And I'm like, I don't really know, but I really don't want a team anymore. And I really don't want this. And I sometimes think that maybe By the Blazer's like a 5-year project. I'm going to scale it to this. And I think I want to launch a podcast. And, in 4 or 5 years, I just want to make so much money that I can like open a nonprofit and take my friends on vacations and like flip houses and do that. And I don't really know if I'm going to be a coach at that point. And I remember the one coach looked at me, he's like, isn't that a business vision? And I was like, is it? He's like, yeah, it's a business, like where are you getting this like self-doubt? Where are you getting this concern? Like you know exactly what you're doing. You just think that you need to be doing what everyone else thinks that you need to be doing or what everyone else is doing. And I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right. I had that moment where I'm like, you're totally right. Everything I do in my business is based on what other people do. Everything I do in my business is based on what like traditionally has been successful. Even my own fucking offer suite. I'm like, is that really what I want to be doing or do I want to modify things? So lots of exciting changes coming to By the Blazer this year actually that I did not think were going to happen this year. But you know what? We're going to fucking do it anyway. I just had this moment where I'm like, I'm so obsessed with like the how that I realized that like the how is going to come when I just feel excited and good and fun and free. And so I basically disclaimer to both of them. I said, you know what? I know I have my VIP day tomorrow. I really want my VIP day and my strategy session to be more about my vision and just like being in the business and trusting myself in the business versus the strategy piece. And they're like, yeah, well, you don't really need a lot of strategy right now. Like you're fine. Like we're good. So I go through like my day. It's a lot more about, trusting myself. I felt a lot more like reliefs there. The other thing that was really eye-opening to me that night is I made some comment about, I don't want to have a team. I think I can do $3 or $4 million a year without a team. And I don't want a team. I don't want to outsource 4 or 5 parts of my business. I kind of want to keep things really lean and simple. And I had this coach look at me and they're like, yeah, you can run a $10 million a year business with just you. And I remember thinking like, no one tells me that. No one tells you that you can do whatever the fuck you want in business. So here I am little pause of the podcast right now, pause of the story, you can do whatever the fuck you want in business. I literally left this weekend realizing I have very stupid strategy and this and that in the business. It's just what someone else believes is successful. But guess what? Until you pave your own way and do it the way you want, and then teach others that that can be the path that is successful, someone else is going to do it, and then you're going to have to hire them and look at them and trust them that they're going to be able to say, yeah, the vision that you've actually had all along in your business, it could have been successful, but you trusted that everyone else had some secret magic fucking sauce that you wanted to follow along. What if you didn't do that? And I think I needed permission that weekend to do whatever the fuck I want. So one of the things you guys are going to see a lot from me, if you guys are following By the Blazer, which by the way is my consulting firm. I don't know if I've ever said that, but I run a consulting firm. It's me, and then I hired my best friend Lexi this year, and then my other best friend Lauren helps me with podcasts and some content and stuff because she is amazing. And she does a lot of like behind the scenes work. But outside of that, like it's literally just me, and I manage a lot of clients, and things have been crazy. But I really like when I do it the way I want, things are amazing. When I trust what other people are doing and I follow suit on that too much, it just kind of becomes a fucking mess. So I'm leaving that day feeling very like, you know what? I think I can do that. But the thing that was holding me back still that weekend is I was just so obsessed with like, okay, I'm like processing and I'm thinking and like, what does this actually look like? That I kind of just couldn't sit still. And so other people were coming that weekend, and it's finally Saturday. So I'm a little bit more zen at this point. Also, one of the things that I do when I start to relax a little bit is I get really sassy and kind of all over the place. And I was pitching my podcast. At the time, I had decided that I was going to go with the name Full Plate of Pasta. I had done a photo shoot, and I was pitching it to a couple people who hadn't like heard about it yet. And they're like, this is amazing. And that validation, you guys, I'm not gonna lie, is the only reason I'm fucking sitting here today. Like I needed that validation because I'm like, we're talking about pasta, and they're like, is it about food? They're like, no, it's out about like true stories and like indulgence and like what it takes to be successful. They're like, we totally see the vision. And I'm like, how the fuck did you get that from a photo of me where like my boobs are out and I'm holding a martini glass with pasta hanging out of my, like, how did you get that? They're like, we totally see the vision. And they asked me what it's really about. And I remember thinking, I don't really have a total theme about the podcast. They're like, no, we love that. You need to just go. You need to just be. And that was like the first time they said the words just be. And that becomes the entire theme of this episode today is just being and what the fuck that means. Because I still don't fully know. But that phrase has completely changed my life going into this part of this year. Like the second half of the year. Holy shit, we're just being today, you guys. And you're probably like, what does that mean? We're going to get into it. So the other girls come on Saturday. I'm starting to get a lot of confidence because I'm getting validation on the podcast. I'm just feeling like, you know what? You got this, Ashley. Like you've totally got this. You knew all along what you need to do to be successful. Your podcast vision's on point. Like just keep going. And so all these girls are coming on Saturday. We spend the day together. One girl's doing her day. We're like hanging out. And then we go to this dinner. And we decide after dinner that we're going to go and we're just going to kind of sit and we're going to release some of the things keeping us stressed in business. Because what you'll realize about business owners is when you're kind of newer in business, it's a lot of like tactical things, strategy. As you get into like the 50K per month or the 100K or the 7-figure or the 100K per month or 7 figures per year, once you get to that point in business, you don't need a lot of strategy. You really just need like depth of conversation. I was having a conversation with my own coach about this the other day. When you hire mentors, once you get to a certain page, I don't give a shit like what strategy we're talking about. I just need depth. I need time to converse with my mentors. I need time to just converse with other people, just have real conversations, because that expands my mind so much more than like a strategy. Like, oh, do this on TikTok, or like you need to adjust your marketing or blah, blah, blah. Like that's what higher level mentorship is. If you guys ever work with me in like private consulting or in like higher levels of mentorship with me, you'll see a lot more of that moving on. It's a lot of what we're talking about now. And like, honestly, it makes more money in my business than any fucking TikTok strategy ever could. So that's what we were all really needing, because at this point, every single one of the people in that room was at 7+ figures. We've all been in business for a hot second. Our businesses were very successful. A lot of things were going right. But I think all of us as business owners were not right. We were a little bit unsure. We were very stiff. Stiff is a really great word actually to describe it. We just kind of felt like confined as like, okay, we're moving. I'm just going to make up words on the podcast. That will be fun. We're just going to kind of keep like pushing forward. So we have a couple mentors there and my own coach is talking, and we're sitting around this fire and we're just talking about like how we all operate from like a very masculine sense, meaning not like masculine, like manly or big chest or, you know, hairy armpits or something, but manly being like a very structured, confined energy. I never really heard about masculine and feminine. Like I heard about it, but I thought that meant a little bit more like girly and like, you know, eat meat or something. But masculine's a lot more about the structure and the like business energy and like very strategy related. And the feminine's a lot more about just being. This is not a gender thing, by the way. This is just regurgitating what I've been learning. But a lot of the times, like especially as women or whoever, we have to operate in our feminine. That's just like who we are as our natural self. Like, and so a lot of the times when my coach is talking to me or other coaches are talking to me, they're like, you're very masculine. You have this very like business strategy energy thing. And you just need to like chill the fuck out and just be. And I was like, what the fuck is this just being thing? So we're all sitting by this fire, all being told basically that we have a stick up our asshole. And which was a good thing. You know, sometimes we gotta just like, we just gotta be told like what's going on. And we're sitting at this fire and we just have to sit there and like basically release our stress. So one of the things that we all did is we had a pad of paper, we had to write down anything holding us back and we had to like throw it in the fire. Now I'm gonna be honest. Prior to this weekend, if you would tell me that on a Saturday night I was sitting and writing shit down and throwing in the fire, I'd be like, what type of woo bullshit is this? Like that is not my vibe. That is not my thing. I'm a lot more like, let's get down to business. Let's have conversations. Like, let's do things. So when that was the activity for the night, I was like, all right, this isn't necessarily my thing. But we sit down and we're all sitting there and all of a sudden, everyone's just crying. These are like the most impressive women I've ever talked to in my life. Like 7 figures in a year, like, you know, $250,000 in a month. Like I'm talking like, we're all kind of impressive bitches, okay? We're like all sitting here pretty impressive. We've done some amazing things. And we're like crying. We're crying about boys. We're crying about loss. We're crying about, you know, ending of, you know, really big chapters of our lives. We're crying about fear. And there was one girl at the table where I felt, because I kind of chilled the fuck out the day before and she was kind of still in her like energy zone. You know, one of us complimented her or something and she felt a little bit overwhelmed when we complimented her. I made some joke. I was like, I think we should all compliment blah, blah, blah person. And we all went around and she's crying as we're just telling her how amazing she is. And I had this eye-opening moment then where I'm like, why are we so afraid to just be proud of ourselves and like just be authentic? I think we all, because of Instagram and just like, you know, success nowadays, especially on the internet, like everyone wants to tell you just how much money they've made or how much success they've had or what they've accomplished. I don't know if it's like a validation thing or everyone wants to be a coach and teach you how to do it too or whatever the issue is, but people just are so transparent about success and we aren't really transparent about our fears or our failures. And I'm even running a coaching program right now where I have like probably 4 or 5 women. Well, every time things get hard, they privately DM me and they're like, hey, I don't want to put this in the group. I don't want anyone to think that I'm struggling. I'm like, you do know that every other person in the group is like privately messaging me saying the same shit. Every person is afraid. Every person has fears. Every single person has self-doubt. And it's so wild. I'm sitting in this room. I'm like, it doesn't matter if you're at 5K a month. It doesn't matter if you're a corporate girl. It doesn't matter if you're a teacher or a nurse or a salesperson or whatever. Everyone has these moments where they're like, is it going to be okay? And I'm sitting around women who've literally had just history after history of success. And they're asking me like, is it going to be okay? You guys have to imagine that there's something that's kind of weird about that situation, but also kind of validating when you realize there is at no point in business or in life where you just make it and you're like, you know what? I never have to worry again. I never have to stress about money. I never have to stress if I'm going to sign clients again. It just doesn't go away. And I'm not saying that to be discouraging. I actually mentioned this to my clients the other day and someone's like, so what's the fucking point? I said, I don't think it's about the point of being like, you can make it and then you don't have to worry about it again. I think the point is just remembering that like, it's about just taking a second to process the feelings and the fears that you have and being able to process it and then push it along. When I was newer in business, the moment that someone's payment didn't go through or the moment that something got really overwhelming, it just like, it was like the weight of the fucking world on my shoulder. And now I can go through a month where everything's horrible or everything's messy. We lost our payment processor literally fucking twice this year. That's a story for another day. And I was like, you know what? We're going to tackle it. We process it. We move on. And I think that's what the point is now my ability to handle more complex things, my ability to process more complex things, it's just so much easier for me now that the weight and the heaviness I used to feel about small stuff, it just doesn't even faze me anymore. And so we're sitting in this circle. We're all like sitting at this fire. And I think I just, in that moment, I was like, you know what? There is not a single person out there that's more talented than me. Again, I'm sitting next to like very talented people. There's not a single person out there that's necessarily a harder worker than me. That's not what actually has gotten us here. What's gotten us here and what like was lighting me up in that moment to go like take over the world was just the fact that I realized there are people out there that are as beautiful as the women sitting next to me, as talented as the women sitting next to me, men too, don't worry, I'm not leaving you out. And they just need to be reminded that like they are fucking incredible. They are amazing. They are the most talented people out there, not because of their actual talents, but because they are just themselves. I have women that I coach and mentor that teach me things that I'm like, what the fuck do you, like, how do you know this? I have an AI expert that's like a genius. I have women who do like, helping moms with like their mindset and scaling companies, and I'm like, amazing. There are so many talented freaking people out there. And instead of just releasing the stress they have and being vulnerable and saying, oh my gosh, I'm struggling right now, so they can fucking move past it, they bottle it up and they let it hold them back from like their greatness. And that's what I was witnessing that weekend. Is it's not that they necessarily, the women there were not having success, but I just could realize that the moment they started to just like break through, including myself, by the way, I was not the teacher in this situation. I was definitely learning alongside of them. The moment I could just release, everything was going to be okay. And in future episodes, I really want to talk to you guys about some of the huge life changes that have come from this weekend. You guys, it was 3 weeks ago. I was literally in Toronto, Canada 3 weeks ago. It's middle of July. I was there middle of it's middle of August right now. I was there middle of July of 2024. And I'm sitting there and I'm processing this. We're all just kind of crying. We're all like going through this. And we kind of start the next day and everyone's entire energy is lighter. And so what we did that morning is we actually all sat in kind of a group, and we're just kind of processing, and we're kind of laughing through how stressed out we all are and how what type of overthinking we all are. And it was probably the best business strategy session I've ever had in my life. And we didn't even talk about business. And I want to say that to you guys because I so believe that mentorship is very little about the strategies or the tips that people can give you. It's very much about the way that people help you to move. And when I'm sitting there, I'm talking to, again, so many people in so many different industries, and they're just talking about their journeys. And I'm like, I feel so ready to do this or take this on just because I'm sitting around people they're talking about all the shit that they've gone through to get here. And that's so powerful and so inspiring. And again, those are not my stories to share. And I would love to have those women on the podcast to share those stories maybe one day if it makes sense. But we just all left, like that entire morning, we just all left feeling so much lighter and so much clearer. And the thing that I want you guys to take away from this is not necessarily like that you need to go sit in a kum-ba-yah circle and try to like hash out your whole like life stories. I mean, I learned a lot about these women and their lives and just some of the really heavy things that they've been through. But I want you guys to realize that it's so important that we are just not afraid to be ourselves. And so I started this weekend very stiff, very intense, very like I have something to prove. And slowly but surely every single day, I realized like I am really talented. I came up with the name By the Blazer, which I thought was a complete fucking weirdo name. And I have women who are like, that name totally resonates with me in the way I need to approach my business. I'm starting this podcast and my hope is that there's one day, and if it's one of you guys, please send me the DM, or someone DMs me and says, that episode made me realize that I could start the $1 million business too. Or this episode made me realize that I don't need to be afraid to tell that person that I love them, or to let my parents in on a really big secret that I've been holding, or I need to, break up with that friend that just completely treats me like shit, or whatever it is. I want you guys to be able to leave to do that, but not because there's a plan behind it. You just realize that's what makes you whole. That's what makes you the best version of yourself. And when I left this weekend, I kind of had this moment where I realized like I could do anything. The only person holding me back, the only person that keeps me from feeling whole is myself. And by sitting with these incredible women and just sharing like, yeah, sales were really rough last year, and I was totally up my asshole every time I posted a piece of content because I just felt like it had to be perfect. Or I let my fear of not being as talented as my own business coach keep me from being authentic. So I tried to emulate her, and I lost myself for like 6 months, and I felt like a complete failure. Or I don't have a great relationship with certain people in my life because I'm afraid that they're not going to think that I'm good enough. And when you can actually say that out loud in a room where you don't care if people judge you for it, or if they laugh at you for it, or if they think less of you or more of you or whatever from it, that's when like any other obstacle in your life, it just doesn't exist anymore. And so the reason that I wanted to make this episode is because, as I mentioned in the beginning, when I was watching 13 Reasons Why, great show, by the way, I highly recommend it if you can stomach it, because it is a little bit of an uncomfortable show that you guys watch it, because it taught me a lot about the importance of like just being kind to people and relationships. But when I watched it, I just remember her saying like so many things happened from this one night. And when I left this weekend, again, the things that have come because of this weekend have completely just shifted the way I look at my business, the way I'm going to run my business, the way I'm going to support my clients. There's going to be a lot less structure moving forward of just like, I just am going to be and do whatever I want when I want to do it. And if I put a price tag behind it, great. If I do it for fucking free, I don't care. Like, and just living my life and being authentic to the people that are in my life, it just feels so easy now. And as someone who has always been afraid of failure and always been afraid of judgment, I want to give you guys the encouragement that when you're in a room of amazing other people, you're in a room of amazing people that are scared and questioning themselves and wondering if they're good enough, and be the person that can say, you know what, things are really hard, let's talk about it. Or I'm really struggling with this, let's talk about it. Because the way that you are going to feel when you do that and the way that other people are going to feel, it's going to change the entire room. And for me, I'm so grateful for this weekend because my entire life and perspective about what's possible in my life has changed from this weekend. So biggest takeaway that I have for you guys is get yourself in the fucking room. I don't care if it's mentorship. I don't care if it's a book club. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a morning Starbucks, Wednesday meeting before everyone goes to work. Get yourself in a room where you can just be, where you can just like share and not worry about the plans or the strategy or anything else. You can just kind of exist and share and feel and like enjoy feeling, because that creates the strategy, that creates the success. And until you get in a room like that, you're just never going to experience that at the level that I think every single person deserves. So if you guys need help on finding those rooms, if you guys need ideas on how to create those rooms, if you feel really called to lead and you're ready to do that, please hit me up. Please, let's have a conversation, because those are the things that are changing my life this year. The money I've made has very little to do with the fact that I can create a compelling TikTok. The money that I've been able to store away and put away and grow has very little to do with the fact that I learned investing when I was 18. Like, those are strategies that came from like my feelings towards what I want my life to look like. And if you start there, anything that you actually want, I promise you, you can achieve.